Hello everybody and welcome to the Selkares Wargaming channel where I'm going to present Wargame Red Dragon. So, as you may have seen in the picture introducing the video, this is still a beta, it's an early access beta for Wargame Red Dragon. It's available for every single person who pre-orders the Wargame game on Steam or on the Focus Store, and it should be available until the release of the game that was announced for the 17th of April 2014. So, I've been around for quite some time on Wargame with an escalation and Island Battle, so I wanted to continue with Red Dragon. For those of you who follow my channel, you know I've hesitated of making English videos, but I finally decided to do so. The last video was had quite not a lot of views, but the response was quite nice, so I decided to continue making English videos and give you all the information I could about this series. So this video, I'm gonna try to make it short. You know, I already said that in the French video, but it lasted 30 minutes, so I hope you have 30 minutes in front of you. It may last that long. The goal here of the video is to give you, first and foremost, a brief overview of what is Wargame. And then I'm going to talk about the new stuff in Red Dragon compared to Island Battle. And then, for those of you who want to, you may stick at the end, I'll talk a bit about the options in the game. So, first, what is Wargame? Well, Wargame is of course Wargame is a strategy game. Let me just show you how you play the game. It's pretty basic. Wargame is a game where you start with you start on one side of a map, the enemy is on the other side. The map is divided into sectors like you see here. Sectors can be captured by command vehicles. As you can see, sectors have a little symbol over here. This means units with the same symbol, which are called command vehicles, can be immobilized on this sector to capture it. Capturing a sector gives you advantages, reinforcement routes, so ground reinforcements can come in via the white arrows, and air reinforcements, so planes can come in through the blue arrows. Helicopters come in on the white arrows. So the goal in the game is to capture sectors and destroy the enemy, of course. You have two main game modes. Destruction. Destruction is you capture the sectors. The sectors give you income corresponding to the number here. And the team who has destroyed the most at the end of the game, or who has reached the limit, wins the game. In Destruction, just like here, the goal is to conquer the map. So destroying the enemy won't actually make you win. What will make you win is capturing the sectors and earning points. For each sector you capture, you earn points, and if you earn more points than the enemy, you will have tickers starting increasing, just like the Company of Heroes game mode, where you have 3 command points. And the first one to 500 wins, or the one with the most points at the end of the game wins. So one particular thing about Wargame is that there is no base building whatsoever. You have a pool of units to pick from, and you put them at the beginning of the game. And then during the game, when you have enough income, enough money, you can call in more units via the reinforcement routes. So one of the core components of Wargame is what we call the deck creation. A deck is basically a pack of units you choose from the 1,500 units in Wargame. You choose the units into a deck, and this deck you will be able to bring in into battle. So you restrain yourself to a few units you can choose from. So I wanted to talk a bit about this because about how the game works, because for all of those who are new, you won't really know what a deck is, and the deck is the most important part in Wargame. So let's talk about the deck creation. First, this is the list of decks you already have. These are mine. You have 2 pre-built decks, what they call starter decks, Soviet Battle Group and American Battle Group. The filters are new in Wargame. You can modify them, so if I unselect starter decks, they will remove them from the list here and show me only the decks I created. So for example, I have Japanese, French, South Korean, American, and Red Dragon deck, which is China and North Korea. So for those of you who played Island Battle, it's quite similar to the first game, just filters have been added, so you can add or remove starter decks, add or remove custom decks, add or remove coalition decks or national decks. And of course thematic and era decks, but those are grayed out because I don't have any of them yet. They would have been shown here. Here you should have the symbol that shows you if you've got a mechanized or armored or naval deck, and here is for the era. It's 85, 80 or all units. The other new thing, well, you've got the filters here, alliance, deck name and everything. the sort options. But the other big thing, which is really nice, is the export and import option. If you've got a deck that you really like and you want to export it to a friend or just on a forum because you think it's a good one and you want to show it on the forum for all new players to be able to use it, you just select a deck, click on export, and you've got a code that is copied to your clipboard, and you can then copy it on your email, on the chat, on the website, on the notepad, wherever you want, and to be able to send it to friends or strangers just to help them out. Once you copied this, you can send it to a guy, and this guy can just import it by clicking here, putting a name on the deck, and copying the code over here. It's really useful, especially if you want to play with friends. And you want to make like complementary decks to play together, you can just create 2 decks if you have some time and send one of it to your friend and then play together with these decks. And I'm pretty sure that at one point players will start creating topics on the forum where they'll just post their own decks for new players to test, and players will just exchange decks. So it'll be pretty nice, I think, in the long run. So that's basically it for this area. Of course, you can copy, delete, rename, and edit the deck. The most interesting part is creating a deck, of course. So creating a deck comes like this. For those of you who played Island Battle, it's no surprise. You can name your deck, so you can just put test, for example. You can choose your side. So it's no longer NATO and Pact, for the simple reason that on the Pact side, 2 new countries have been added, China and North Korea, and they were never really part of the Pact coalition. They even, well, fired at each other at one point. So Fusion System, the developers of the game, as you can see here, Fusion inside, a little wink to Intel here. Fusion System decided to rename them Blue 4 and Red 4 for Blue Forces and Red Forces. So you can choose your faction, then you can choose if you want a national or coalition deck. So we've got all these options, USA, all the nations here, all the NATO or Blue 4 nations. And then you've got the coalitions. So each selection gives you bonuses and restrictions. So if I take USA, for example, selecting USA will enable you to choose prototype American vehicles in your deck. So for example, the latest Abrams or the latest Apache or anything like that. And it gives you a small availability bonus. This availability bonus changes according to the nation. For Denmark, for example, which is a really minor country, the availability bonus is quite high. Of course, this is all a beta, so every number you see in the game is subject to change, but it gives you an idea of how it works. Then once you choose your deck, a nation or a coalition, well, if I take France, for example, we've got a plus 20% availability. Coalitions give you the same prototype unlock, but a lower availability bonus. Eurocorps is pretty strong, so they have no availability bonuses. If you take Scandinavia, for instance, it's got a plus 30%. That's it. Once you select a nation or a coalition, or nothing if you want to, you can select a type of deck, so motorized, armored, support, naval, mechanized, and everything. And every deck gives you bonuses and drawbacks. So for this one, for example, motorized, it's plus 1 XP for recon vehicle helicopter, minus 1 activation points for recon and vehicle, and plus 4 slots, plus 2 slots for recon and vehicles. All these I will explain later on while creating a deck. And then of course you've got the era. The era allows you to add activation points to your deck. That's basically it. So that's the creation of a deck. I'm just gonna leave it like this. Just take USA and create a deck. Here we go. So this is the main screen when creating a deck. You can see you got all these categories, 9 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Logistics, infantry, support, tank, recon, vehicle, helicopter, plane, and naval. They are all restricted to 5 slots. That's why when you take a specialized deck, like the mechanized, you have plus 4 slots in infantry. So that means that instead of being able to take 5 different infantry types, or 5 infantry cards, if you may say so, you can take up to 9, which is much more interesting if you want to have a lot of infantry in your deck. That's basically it. If you take an armored deck, of course you'll unlock the 4 last slots for the tank section, and they'll cost less. Decks cost points. you have 60 points to spend in a deck, and each time you fill in one square, it costs points, and the more you fill in, the more it costs. For tanks, it's 1 point for the first tank. If you add another tank, it's 2 points, and if you go up to the 5th one, it costs 3 points. So if you fill up the entire tank category, it will cost you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in your deck total. So that means you can't fill in everything. All categories cost the same, apart from the plane, which is a bit more expensive. As you can see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. And the naval area, which is totally free, for the simple reason that naval units can't be used in every single game, because naval units can be used only on naval maps or coastal maps. So basically, if you don't have any coastal map, if you are playing on a 100% ground map, naval units can't be used. So they can't really cost points in the deck. If not, players who spend points in naval won't be able to use their units. So it's a bit unfair. So what they did is that the naval area is totally free. You can take up to 6 naval units, but you'll be able to use them only on naval maps. That's it. So then how does it work? Just go into a category to add it. You can change categories over here, and then start selecting units. So if you can see, I've got 0 points out of 60. Take 1 command vehicle, click on train to take the 4 train guys here. It takes the first slot, 1 point. If I take another unit here, take this one, it'll cost me 2 points, going up to 3. So that's really basic. What has changed compared to Island Battle? A few things. First, as you can see, the transports have their own availability. So that means that in my entire deck, I can take only 3 UH-60A Blackhawks. This is meant to restrict the most powerful transports and to emphasize on the normal transport of a faction, the basic transport of a faction. So the Humvee, the Huey, and in the infantry section, all the M113A1, M113A3, and so on and so forth. That's basically it. The other new thing is about the stats. Every stat is explained in a pop-up, which is really nice. It's still a beta, so some of them may be work in progress, but they are all explained. The trained and hardened, veteran and elite, the experience bonuses are all explained, which is really nice. If you go in the tank section, I can see that trained gives you only plus 8% accuracy, 10% dispersion on artillery, 150% faster morale recovery, and so on and so forth. And it increases if I go onto hardened and veteran and elite also, if you have the option. Taking trained and hardened units, the only difference it makes is that hardened is better than trained, but you have less of them available. If I take, for example, this one, I have 2 cards available. If I take 1 card, I can take either 22 trained or 18 hardened. And I have only 1 more card available than that. And if I take another one, then I can't take any more. See, I can't select anything else. Other difference is that you can compare units now. Once you select a tank, let's say I want to compare this HC Abrams to the HA Abrams because they have, well, similar pricing. I can pin a unit and then select another unit to compare it. And then I can see that for 10-point difference, well, they have the same M2 Browning, they have the same M240, they have the same stats, same armor, same stats over here, but the difference is the main gun. They have the same name, but it's not exactly the same stats. You can see that over here, the accuracy is better for this one, plus 5 points, and plus 3 AP. So basically the 10-point difference comes in these stats. The other thing you need to bear in mind that you can see here is the availability. If you buy this tank, you've got 4 trained and 3 hardened, and this one is 3 and 2. So for 10 more points, you've got 1 tank less, but a better tank. That's basically it. So that's basically the change. Stats are now shown in percent if it makes sense, of course, which much better. In Island Battle you had like, this tank has 10 precision. It looks like, yay, it's awesome, but what does it really represent? Now you really have the true number behind it. Bear in mind, once again, that this is a basic accuracy, and that when you shoot, everything is taken into account. Is the enemy are you moving? What is the distance? Is the enemy small or big? Is it hidden? And so on and so forth. So this is really the basic accuracy. As you can see here, it's modified by movement, covers, morale, experience, target size, and distance. So it's quite complex. But it gives you the basic accuracy, so allowing you to really compare one unit from another and knowing the basic efficiency of a unit. That's new. The pin option is new. All the tips are better. And the last point that is really interesting is the filters. The filters are really, really important. Let's say you're creating your own deck. You're selecting units, helicopters, FOB, and then you come into the infantry section and you say, oh my god, what is all this crap? How can I choose? You've got the filters to help you out. So the basic filter when creating a deck is the role. If you're in the infantry section, the role will give you all the infantry roles. So you can then create a deck really easily. You can start with the anti-aircraft units, for example. You see, until you've got 3 infantry types. You've got the LAD Red Eye A, and Red Eye C, with all their different transport variations. So you can then compare, what do I want? This one, clearly 10 points, it may be crap, I don't want it. So I want to compare LAD Stinger C and LAD Stinger A. I look at it and it say, yeah, okay, so that's the difference. For 5 points, I have 20% more accuracy, and that's basically all. Same number of missiles, same weapon over here, same HP, same stats, and everything. So for 5 points, you have 20% here. And then if you look, this one comes in 9.7, this one comes in 7.4. So which one do you choose? Let's say I want an elite one, so I take this, and really elite, I take hardened. Then I can pass to the next category, anti-tank. Oh, there's only one, so well, I'll take this one. I want it not in helicopter, I want it in vehicle. So do I want an amphibious vehicle? So this one, as you can see at bottom right over here, it's amphibious because it's got a speed. This one is amphibious also. The Humvee isn't, so which one do I want? It's the same points. I'll take this one because I want an amphibious. Blah, I'll take this one. Next category, engineer. I've got one. Rifle, I've got a few. So once again, I can compare. Infantry, there are one little tip you have to know, but I'll go into depth about that later on in another video, is that you've often got 2 types of infantry, the basic one and the recent one. It's basically, generally it's more or less the same price, and this one is generally just better. So, up to you, but if you don't restrain yourself to a particular era, it's generally better to take the new one, but all this is subject to change, blah blah blah, and I don't want to go in depth about this right now. So this is basically the role category, really important. Of course, if you change area, the roles, if you change from infantry to tank, you can the role change. You can have cavalry tank, and then it divides into price, which is pretty nice. If I take cavalry tank, I can take an M8 AGS or a Sheridan. Sheridan is the cannon. This one is 15 rounds per minute. It's really awesome. This one is 7, but this one is amphibious, 55. So if you want to make a sneaky maneuver around the side, it's maybe a good option. So that's basically it. Other filters are pretty basic. Era is what it says. Gives you only the units of a particular era. Thematic is the same, gives you the units of a particular theme when you want to create a deck. And then you've got miscellaneous, which gives you a lot of stats. I'll show you this more in detail in the Armoury because we've got a lot of options. This increases. One special area, so this is the naval one. The naval section is, so as I said, it's free. It is available only on naval maps, which isn't available right now in the beta, just to make a point. They are still working on the balancing of the naval units, so they decided not to include it right at the start. We only have ground maps. But basically the naval section is pretty simple. You've got the boats, of course. This one is the most expensive one on the blue 4 side. On the red 4 you've got the Souverain, which is 500 points. So we've got a commander vehicle. And then you've got all sorts of small, look at all this list. You've got all sorts of smaller, all sorts of smaller ships, escort ships, command ships, which are the big ones, coastal support, which is sometimes a bit, we've got supports, coastal supports, so all sorts of ships. And but as you have seen, there are a lot more units in this. The reason is that in the naval support, as they are only used in the naval maps, you've got the boats, you've got the specific anti-boat units, be the helicopters, planes with anti-ship missiles, and you've got all the units that arrive in barges, in naval transports. So you can call in naval units, or land units in amphibious transports that will allow you to disembark them on the coast, which is really awesome. So that's basically it. So that's it for the deck. It's quite self-explanatory, and the filters are something new compared to Alan Battle, and they are really welcome. Just to come back to the miscellaneous, here you can see a lot of choices, a lot of options. Sorry. And you can basically select what you want. Do you want a specific, saying, flying machine? Do you want a specific tracked vehicle? Do you want a specific unit that fires clusters? So that's basically generally MLRS or planes. As you can see, there are some bugs because, of course, a FOB doesn't fire cluster ammunition. Do you want a fire and forget trait for any kind of, if you want radar missiles, so boats and anti-air normally, see a lot of anti-air, and so on and so forth. So finding, and you can even type in a particular unit. If you want to say look for a specific F117, this doesn't exist, then you can find specific units. If I type in Sheridan, nope, probably not the exact name. So if you know the exact name of a unit, you can type it in. If I type in Centurion, does it work? Yep, here we go. Centurion. Oh, well, that's also because I've limited everything. That's why I didn't find it. So if you want a Centurion, you can find one. If you want, as I said, the Sheridan, you can type in, you've got it. So all these filters are really nice, especially when you've got so many units, 1,470. So it's a really nice addition, especially when we've got so many units and so many nations. As you can see here, you've got Blue 4, Red 4, Eurocorp, Scandinavia, Commonwealth, and Blue Dragons, and Eastern Bloc Red Dragons on the Red 4 side. And then you've got all the different countries, a bit more on the NATO side, but the pact is really interesting also. So that's basically it for the deck system. I've talked a bit long, but I think it's okay. Just to show you a bit the multiplayer and the different changes. So you can also filter the games. That's pretty nice. You can classify the games however you want. You can create a game. So one first new thing here, you can create the game type, private, game the name, but you can also restrict your game to particular type of decks. So for instance, if you want to play let's say an old deck, meaning pre-80 deck and only national, you can select only national decks, nation, and before 1980. Well, that's pretty nice because 1980 decks aren't generally competitive against 96 plus decks. So it's nice you can restrict your lobby and being able to invite only people with 1980 decks to have a balanced game, which is really nice. And of course, thematic decks are the same, any specific thematic constraints. Once you've created that, you've got to select your map. Of course, you've got the minimap now. It's quite basic in RTS games, but in Wargame there were never any minimaps. Now there is one. It's really awesome. One new thing is that if I go back, you can create a 3v3 game, or more if you want, a 4v4, on 1v1 maps. In Alan Battle you couldn't do that, because Unit System felt that if you played a 4v4 on a 1v1 map, it would become really crowded, and then new players were coming and feel the game really crowded, you can't move and you can't do anything, it's not good, and then they will leave. So what they have done now is that they clearly indicated what type... Oh crap, get out of here. They clearly reminded what type of map these maps are, and then you can do whatever you want with them. So you've got Bloody Ridge, 38th Parallel, Apocalypse Imminent, Hope and Glory, Cliffhanger, and Jungle Law. And as you can see, there are a lot of variety of terrains. It changes from Alan Battle. You've got luxurious jungles, you've got more desert maps like this one and Bloody Ridge, and you've got a mix with 38th Parallel, more usual maps that we had in Alan Battle and European Escalation. And then, of course, we have the other options: Conquest, Economy, Destruction, Confrontation, Private, Public, of course, with accessibility, starting points, Conquest points or Destruction points if you are playing in Destruction, a time limit, and the income rate. So in Destruction it's percent, so it reduces the income of the sectors, and in Conquest, which has a fixed income, it gives you the income per player, so 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, and it scales up with the number of players. So you can really customize your games now, and then you can just, well, it's really nice. So that's basically all I wanted to say. Just one little thing before I stop the video. I'm just going to launch this game and show you quickly the nice maps we have now in the game. So I showed you the jungle one a bit earlier, just showing you how it looked like. But one of the new features of the game is the terrain. In Wargame European Escalation, you had basically flat maps with a few elevations. In Allied Battle, you had mountains, but apart from infantry, nobody could go there. Now in Red Dragon, every terrain is passable by any kind of units. There are, of course, exceptions. Some mountains, just like this one, for example, here vehicles probably won't be able to go up. But I already played a few games on this map, and I assure you I was fighting over here. I had tanks going over this mountain, I had vehicles coming in up here with infantry trying to flank the enemy. The line of sights are really tricky now. If you are here, you won't be able to see over there. If you are here, you won't be able to see here. Once I had a helicopter right here, a plane was coming in to take him out, and I just moved him back, and he went down the mountain and hovered just over here so the plane couldn't shoot at him. So the game is getting much more interesting. All the changing in the map design means that there's going to be a lot more a bit more micromanagement around the different kinds of terrain, and it's going to be much more interesting. It won't be anymore big corridor maps because, well, you aren't restricted to this route, or this route. You can go anywhere you want, and you can do really nice maneuvers. It's really interesting. The first games I played were really nice on this map. So basically, the game is a big improvement. Of course, a lot of features aren't in the game yet. The solo campaign, the naval units, and so on and so forth. So I'll be continuing and making update videos about the additions coming in the game. And and I'll be making, of course, replay commentaries if I have some time. I'll be doing them to show you a bit how the game plays. Of course, it's still a beta, so bear in mind that things are subject to change, especially stat-wise. So and of course, regarding the bugs. So thanks for tuning in. I hope it was useful, and stay put and subscribe to the channel if you want to follow me and have more updates about the game and replay commentaries when I have the time to make them. For those of you who are leaving, thanks for watching, see you next time. And for the others who just want to have a quick look at the options menu, well, here we go. So the options in the Wargame series have always been quite good. In this one, well, they are basically the same. So the first one is the gameplay options. Language, for now, it's just limited to English. Then you've got the mousetrap, automatic fire, enemy supplies, and so on. Interface, still very customizable. You still have the choice between RTS and NATO icons for the units. The choice between Red Dragon and European Escalation preset interface. Red Dragon is more of the big size interface for guys who have a bit of a vision problem, I guess. And European Escalation is more of a small size. And then you can customize, which is what I did. A minimal label size, minimal vertical margin. You can go up to very large or minimal. So it's pretty customizable. You can change the size of the herds of the minimap. Bear in mind that they can't be moved. The minimap is always on the top right. Some options are on top left and bottom left. Bottom left and top bottom right. The only thing you can do is change the size, but it's still pretty interesting. The controls, of course, all the keys are rebindable. I already changed some of them. Audio, same as always, the different volume sliders, and, which is nice, you can choose which music you want, Red Dragon, Almoury, European Escalation, or all of them. For now, I'm just off with the music because it's easier when recording, so that's basically it, but you can choose, which is pretty nice. And then video options. So when you launch the game for the first time, you have the auto settings, which launches and gives you the settings that are normally the best for your rig. So that's pretty nice. Just for a little example, I've got a decent graphics card, but by no means the best on the market. So some of you may have better computers, but for those of you who have just basic computers, know that with a GTX 670, I do go up to very high, insane, and so on. So you do have a pretty nice game with just a good graphics card, but not the best ones. And then of course the credits, but the credits is still Island Battle, still work in progress, so no real things to look in here. So that's basically it. Red Dragon pre-order beta is early access beta, actually it's called, available normally until the 17th, until the game is released. It's pretty nice. You've got 5 ground maps, no naval units for now. You can look at them in the Armoury, but you can't use them. You've got no solo part of the game, but that, the devs have told us, that will come in later during the pre-order access to be able to test the game. So I'll be making videos every time a new thing appears, be it solo, be it naval units, being big patch changes, and I'll try to make gameplay commentaries now and then to show you a bit how the game plays and if it's interesting or not. Thanks for following, hope you liked it, and see you next time.